Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be colouring this image from Jade Summer's Alice in Wonderland book. This is the Mad Hatter. Let's pop in and have a look. So guys, I've printed this one on Express It blending card, and I have done a flip through of this book already on my channel, so I'll pop a link to that in the description below. Also, I'm going to be using COPIC markers today. All of the products that I do use will be in the description below, as well as my other favourite products that I do like. So let's pop in and start off. I wanted to do this one a little bit different. I kind of used the new Alice in Wonderland as a little bit of inspiration to the colouring with his face and things like that. And I hope you guys like it too. So we're going to start off, I'm doing his skin kind of a pinky yellow-red colour today. So I've got RV00 to start, and I'm just coming into some shadow areas here first. So just to let you know, there will be a colour conversion chart from Copics to pencil available on Patreon, so I'll pop the link for that in the description below as well. So I'm just coming into all of the shadow areas and lining this out first. This is a really light colour, so we're not sort of putting a lot of deep colour in straight away. We're just sort of marking it out for now. Okay, I'm just going to deepen that up now with some YR00. So what that means is that I'm going over the top of the previous colour, and I'm just extending it a little bit further out to make those parts or sections a little bit larger. So we're starting to create or enclose our white area. So in the end we'll be left with our highlight sections, and we'll then have our dark sections as well. So I'm swapping that one out now for E00, and I'm just going over the top of the previous colour, and I'm making this area now of colour a little bit further and a little bit wider. So we're coming in now where we've just got room for highlights left. So you can see now that we're starting to fill out the rest of the area around the skin. We've only got a slight area left now, which is white, which will be our highlight colour. I'm going to go over the remainder of the white areas now with E000, and I'm also going over the other marker colour that I've put down as well. So we're just sort of doing a smooth blend over the top of everything. So his skin is quite pale. It's still got an orangey pink sort of tone in there, which is really good, and I quite like this colour. Now in the movies he was quite white, so that's why I've chosen to go this really light sort of blend. Now I really like using my Carbothello chalk pencils, so I've decided to use those for the makeup sort of sections of the picture. So I'm going to use, there's a pretty sort of pink colour in there, and there's also an orange in there, and I've got the white pencil as well, and I'm just going to go in and just sort of lighten up his cheek areas and smooth off the skin a little bit, and then I'm going to put some of that colour down around his eyes with those. So you could use an actual marker if you wanted to go in with a marker. You don't have to use these colours. I would just use a nice pink and a nice orange colour. So I've got the pink here, and I'm just going to go into on one side and put this colour in, and the other side I'm going to do orange. I'm going to use a cotton tip or a Q-tip to go in and just smudge out the colour there. Orange now, and I'm just going around the eye the same way I did before. I've just used my finger there just to smudge it out a little bit. Now don't stress if you don't have these specific pastels. If you've got any dry pastels or chalk like pastels, they will do the same job, as I said, or you can just use the markers to go back over it, or even pencil for that matter. And just be careful with the Express It blending card though. I do have trouble with some pencils not going down very well on it, so just be wary of that as well. Just using my electric eraser there just to get rid of the colour in the eyes there. So I've just put a real slight tinge on the makeup side of it there, just so that they look a little bit different, and it kind of matches up with what he had in the movie as well. So he actually had two different coloured eyes. I'm using G29 first on the first side. So all I've done is just do some little lines from the outside of the eye in towards the middle of the eye. I've got G07 and I'm doing exactly the same thing, just using little flicks in towards the middle of the eye again. So I've left the whites of around the pupil there a little bit whiter, you can see that there. I'm coming in with that YG13 and I'll be filling in the rest of that space that you could see left there. So you can see now that it was just a green eye. Just darkening up the darker green areas because it's desaturated a little bit with the two lighter colours there. So the left eye is a little bit lighter, so we're going to start with the G07 and I'm going to do the same thing. So just bringing little flicks in from the outside towards the middle. Then I'm using the YG13 to come out a little bit further, so over the top of the previous colour, flicking out in towards the middle there. And then I've got some Y04 just to do those middle sections there, just to lighten that up a little bit so that we've got a really light eye and a really dark eye now. Just going back in with the G07 just to deepen up those lines again, as they are with the other one. They were a little bit more desaturated. So I'm using C3 to do the shadow areas on the whites of the eye. I'm going to blend that out with C0. So just going over the top of that and extending it a little bit further so it's not just a defined line. But I'm going to use the colourless blender next just to blend that in a bit and make sure that it's nicely blended with the rest of the white there, so that it's not too defined. It's a subtle shadow. So I've decided to do him all in nice bright colours, and I'm going to do the background fairly monotoned so that he really stands out off the page. So we're going to do some really nice bright colours on his hat and on the rest of the clothes as well. So I've got my white gel pen here, and I'm just going in and I guess brightening up these white parts of the eye here. I'm also getting rid of the black line that was drawn around it. So now that that's gone, I'm replacing it with the highlighted area now. So just going over the top of the black that was already there and also filling in the white area a little bit more. I've also popped a little dot on the side of the eye there as well for some more reflection. So I'm using some 08 now. You can't see that very well because of the light. He's going to have red orange hair, so I'm using that colour to start off with the shadow areas, coming in with YR07 and then some YR04, and that's the eyebrows done. So I'm just darkening up around his eyes with the black marker now. I was going to put some white eyelashes in there, but it didn't look right, so we just stuck with the black there. I think because it's sort of an anime style, it was really hard to put a feature like that in without it looking kind of strange. So just deepening up the black lines now just to accentuate the eyes there. So I'm just going to do these little things on his face here. I've got RV17. Then I'm going to use some orange colour. I've got the YR07. And then I've got some green there, which is G07. I'm going to use a white gel pen as well, just to put a couple of little flecks of light on there as well. I did have some of that pastel rub off onto the hair, so I'm just sort of making sure that's clear now so I can lay down a nice layer of COPIC marker there. So just rub that off. I also just sort of deepened up some of the colour around the eyes because I felt that it wasn't quite dark enough as well. So I felt that gave the eyes a little bit more of a dramatic look, and I wanted to put a little bit of the colour in the face as well, so I've just sort of put a little bit on the cheeks and also on the nose there just to add a little bit more depth into those areas. So I'm using the pink now to do that. So I'm just looking at the teeth now, and I think I need to put a little bit of shadow in those. So I've just got some C3 and just come in and lined out some of those areas there just to bring in a little bit of colour so it's not such bright white. So I've got the C0 as well there. Now I've done the same thing in the eyes, and I'm going to blend that out with the colourless blender as well. So we're just, I guess, putting a little bit of shadow in there so they're not quite so bright. So there's still a little bit of skin that I haven't done, so I'm going to go in now and fill that out. So just the hands there, I'm going to use the same colours as we've used in the skin. So I'm going in first with the shadow areas with RV00. And now I'm just swapping over that to the YR00, making sure I go into all of the shadow areas and just extend this a little bit further out. And the next color I've used is E00, so we're doing the same thing, just coming in and going a little bit further out now towards the wider areas. So we've just got our highlight area left, which I'm going to come back in with next, the E000. So we're just putting a little bit of character and shape in there. I missed a little bit of that bottom finger, so I've just filled that one out again. And now I've got that E000, and we're just going over the remainder of the area and also going over what we've previously done as well. So I've just got that white chalk pastel, and I'm just going in and putting in some white highlights on the nose and parts of the areas on the face that I wanted a little bit lighter, and made sure I've brushed that off as well. So we're going to start on the hair. I'm doing the shadow areas of the hair first, so making sure that I put this in nice and deep underneath the hat area. I'm using R08 to start with, and I'm flicking in little lines to create some texture there as well. So now that I've done the hair, I realise I've missed the ears, so I'm just going to go in with the same colours we used on the hands and the face and just fill this colour in now. So back to the hair, I've got YR07 now, and I'm coming a little bit further out towards the middle parts of each of these sections of hair, using little flicks in there just to create that texture. So we're slowly building up colour till we get to the lightest highlight colour. Okay, so I've got some YR04 now and finishing off in towards that highlight now. So it should be almost covering all of the hair now. You may still have some little flecks through there, and that's fine. So I'm going to use this peachy orange colour through the rest of his clothes as well. So I'm going to start with some YR65. I'm just going to go in and put in the shadow areas of the ribbon at the top here. Then I've got some YR02, just going over the top of the previous colour and extending this further out towards the highlight now. So the highlight section is anywhere where there's light reflecting off it. I like to try and do it in the middle of a ribbon just to show that there's a bend there, and it just shows that light reflection really well. So I've got YR00 to fill in that highlight section now. So I've just missed this little section in the middle of the ribbon. I'm just going to, in the middle of the bow, I'm just going to fill that out. I'm also going to do a second layer of these colours as well in the rest of the sections. So I just felt that the area underneath the hat there was a little bit light, so I've just gone back in with the YR00 and the RV00 just to sort of darken that up a little bit under the hat there. So we're going to put some blue into the hat, so the rim of the hat will have nice blue colours, and we've got some green and pinks or burgundy pinks to go through as well. So to do the shadow areas of the hat, I've got B39, So you can see I've done some flicks there to help blend the next colour in nicely. So I've got B37 over the top of that one and extending this a little bit further out. I'm using the side of my marker to flick out there, so it'll be darker as I come over the darker areas and it lightens as I lift the marker up. Okay, so I'm going to go even lighter again. I've got B16 and coming a little bit further out. And then I've got some B14 and I'm just coming over and finishing that area off now. So this will be the lightest colour on the tip of the hat. I will put some white gel pen flecks in there later on as well. Just got that YR65 again and just deepening up these areas a little bit more. Now that they've dried off, they were a little bit lighter than I wanted them. So I'm just getting the colours out for the rest of the jacket and the hat now. So I'm using some RV colours, so some nice bright pink burgundy colours in there. So I've got RV19 and I'm just going to go into the shadow areas first. The shadow areas of this hat are where it creases just to bend over there. I've got RV17 and I'm just coming over the top of that. So you can see that we've already started to create a little bit of a highlight there by stopping the marker in the middle section there just to show that that's a highlighted piece. So now we're going to go to our next lightest colour, which is RV14, RV14, coming over the top of the previous colour and extending this a little bit further out. I did have a little trouble with this one blending out properly, so it did take me a little while to get that blend right. So having left that little bit of a highlighted section, I've got RV02 to go over the top of that and just bringing that out into the darker areas. I don't want to go too far out over the rest of the darker area because it will desaturate this colour a lot. So I'm just going to bring in the RV17 and just sort of darken up a couple of these areas. I think they did desaturate a little bit too much. Then I'm going to do green on the hat next, so to help sort of bring it in with the eyes as well, I've got some G29 first, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing as I've done with the pink, except in the remaining sections of the hat. So starting with G29. Now I've done that, I've got G07. So I'm just making sure that I go over the previous colour and melt that into this colour so that they sort of smoothly blend together. Then I've got some YG13 and I'm just coming over the top of those previous colours and extending these further out. You can see there that the colour was actually sitting on top of the paper. For some reason it didn't want to go in at all, even though I'd only done the one layer. So it did make that paper quite wet. I've just gone over the darker areas as well to help smooth them in and blend them into the remainder of the colour a little bit better. So just doing some details on the cards now. I've got B37 first and I'm going over the lines on the card. Just going to go over that with the lighter blue, which was B14, and just fill out over the top of that area. I'm going to do some red hearts. I'm also going to put some greys on the card there just to show that it's not bright white. There'll be a little bit of shadow on there. So the same as what was in the eyes, C3. And then blending it out with C0. Also too, I did use R08 in the hearts there. I didn't actually say what I used there. And then I'll have my colourless blender there and just sort of blend that all in nicely so that it is smooth in with the white area as well. So I'm going to repeat the orange or peachy sort of colour there into the shirt here. So just repeating the same colours as I did before. Starting with the YR65. And swapping that one out for YR02. So just refilled my marker there again. So I do that quite often as I go through, still using YR02. So just to keep in with that nice dark peach, I've come in with YR61 instead of the YR00 straight away, because I didn't want this to be as light as the top section. So I'm just using the colours I've already used, but I'm just adjusting the details on it slightly to make sure that I've got some nice dark areas. Also to the hat, after it had dried off a little bit, I wasn't happy with how the pink looked, so I will just sort of have a play around with that as well. So I'd like you guys to be able to do that as well. If you think that it's not quite right and you want to sort of add a little bit more in, then please do that. If you see it, then fix it up. That's no problems. So it is better to sort of have a little bit more of a play if you're not quite happy with the blend. Sometimes doing another layer can help you to get it a little bit smoother than before. I've just deepened up those areas on the ribbon there with the YR61 as well. So the hat, I'm just going to use these colors just to sort of neaten this up a little bit. I know that the camera angle wasn't quite as very good there, but I've just got RV17 first, and I'm just sort of darkening these areas up a little bit more. Now I've got the RV14 just coming in to try and get that a little bit smoother. And then the RV02. So just getting that nice and smooth now. So I'm going to do some of the jacket now. I've got B39. Just going into all of the shadow areas first. So this will match his hat. So I'm blending that out with B37 now, so just going over the top of the previous colour and extending it further out. Then I've got some B16 to go over the remainder area, so it's a little bit darker than what we've done on the hat. So it's kind of a little bit in the shadows here, so I have done that darker. So we're going to do some textures on this part of his top or tie or shirt or whatever it is. So I wanted to do some spots on it. So what I'm actually going to do is I've just made sure my marker, my clear marker, is really nice and wet. So you can see the nib still sticking out a little bit there because I wanted to make sure I had plenty of ink before I got into it, but all I'm doing is just dabbing little dots onto the darker colour. So make sure that your ink is actually dry before you attempt to do it. The drier it is, the better you'll get out of the look. So when the ink's dry, it bleeds out a little bit better when you put the clear on top of it. So I'm just sort of dabbing that on in the same spot to get that ink to come out, and it's actually creating little spots on the tie. So a very effective texture there on the scarf or tie or whatever it is around his neck there. So I'm just coming in with some W9. I'm going to do the jacket a burgundy colour, but I've only got one darker shade of this burgundy. So I thought that if I wanted it quite dark. So if I put this W9 into the shadow areas and go over this with that, it means I'm actually getting two colours out of the one, because we've got that darker shade with the W9 underneath it, and then the lighter shade without it underneath. So just coming into all of the creases and shadow areas of his jacket now. Okay, so now we've done that, I've got my R59, and I'm going to come in and go over the top of that area, and I'm going to make this a little bit larger now to extend it further out towards that highlighted colour. So most of the jacket will be this colour. Okay, so we're going to swap out now for some R46. I'm going to fill out the remainder of that area with this one now. Okay, my marker's actually run out there, so I'm just going to fill it up and then we'll start again. So I'm just coming into the steam areas as well with this one. So we still want to see colour behind there, so I've just gone over with that colour as well. Just got some YR61 there just to pop some into the steam there behind the steam there as well. And a little bit of the blue B14 there. It's a little bit lighter than the dark blue, but because it's steam, it could be quite white down here, so that's going to cover up a lot of that anyway. Just got some colourless blender and I'm going over the top of all of the colour I just put on in the steam areas, kind of doing little circular motions, rubbing this over so it's a little bit lighter in these sections than it is anywhere else. Just going to put some pale pink behind the cup here, or behind the steam on the cup here, which is RV02. I'm doing the cup pink, so just using a bit more colourless blender in on the pink area there as well. So kind of smudging and lightening out these colours. Got some RV19, I'm going to go into the shadow areas of the cup here. Just got a little bit of pink on the finger there. I'm just using the E00 to sort of push that colour out again. I'm going to go in next with the RV17 and go over the RV19 and just extend that a little bit further down. Coming in now with that RV14 and over the top of the previous colour, extending this a little bit further out towards the top there. You can see I've still left a couple of little white spaces there as well. I'm just finishing the remaining areas off here with the RV02. Just using some RV17 for the handle. And just blending that out with the RV14. So we're getting close to finishing him off now, and then we're just going to do the background. As I said, I'm going to use only a couple of colours through that, a little bit more. It's actually not monotone because there'll be pink and purple through there, but it's a little bit more plain than doing lots of bright colours in the background as well. So I was sort of looking for the look of bringing him forward off the page and having the background sort of set apart at the back. Now I did say that I was going to darken up the jacket, so that's what I'm doing now. So I've just got that R59 and I'm just coming back in and I've made those shadow areas a little bit larger than they were previously. And then just going over the top of those sections with the R46 again. So you can see now I've made that jacket a lot more darker by doing that second layer. Now that that colour's dried off under the steam, I'm just going back in again with the colourless blender to try and sort of loosen that off a little bit and put a little bit of desaturation through those areas. Just doing the shirt down below here, I'm just doing it blue. I've got the B16 there and I'm going in and filling most of that area out. And just using the B14 to blend that out. I'm so sorry you can't see the other hand there. I didn't realize it wasn't on the camera again. So there's only a tiny little corner in the other section to do. So just starting on the background now. So we'll run through that. Okay, so we're going to do the background. So I'm using the violets in the 25. So I've got V25, V22 and V20. So I'm going to go into all of the shadow areas with this one. This is kind of how you would do monochrome in these areas. We're just doing a darker color of the same, a darker shade of the same color. So the shades are getting lighter and lighter as I go through. So I'm just doing all of these shadow areas first and marking out a couple of areas so that we can have a little bit of texture and highlight and things like that through as well. So all of this area here, all of these sections I'm doing now will be in this color. So starting with V25, moving down then to V22 and then V20, and then we'll do the background sky area a pink color. So now I'm going to swap over to that V22 and I'm just extending that a little bit further out. I'm going to leave highlighted sections for that V20 as well. Now I've got the V20 and finishing off the remaining sections of those areas. Now I did go over the steam areas as well, so I'm just going to go over those now with the colourless blender just to fade them out a little bit through the steam. So I've got some RV00 and I'm just coming in and doing all of the background areas in this one colour. Now I'm going to bring that colourless blender back in and I'm going to do some more of the steam areas now. So I'm just trying to lighten it off a little bit and desaturate the colour so that it does look like it's a little bit blurry even through the steam, because obviously it's going to be a little bit distorted with that as well. Now I'm going to bring in the white pastel pencil as well to put over the steam a little bit, just to sort of lighten it off a little bit more as well. So this is the white Stabilo chalk pencil, and I'm just going in and sort of doing little squiggly lines and smudging it out with my finger there. So just rubbing that all over the image there where the areas of the sort of steam are sitting, just to lighten them up a little bit and put a little bit of I guess a little bit of opaque sort of colour through there as well, so it's not all just see-through. So that's it. That's the end of the image. So hopefully you enjoyed this one, and I've given you a little bit more technique there to use, especially when it comes to steam and monochrome and things like that. So yeah, all good. So just once I've finished off this chalk pastel section here, I will use my white gel pen to put a few spots in and highlights in there, just to give it a little bit of contrast, and it makes things stand out a little bit, I think. So I'll pop in and do that. Guys, I am very, very, very close to getting to the 1,000 subscribers, and I just want to thank you guys for getting me there. I am going to do a 1,000 subscriber giveaway for you guys. So if you want, make sure you've subscribed, and you can come along and join our Facebook group as well, because we will have updates in there as well. So I'm looking forward to doing that with you guys, and of course I'll do a video when it comes that close to that as well. So just finishing this off now, as I said, if you haven't subscribed already, please do so, and you'll receive notifications when I upload videos. Also, don't forget there is the Facebook group, and pop along to Patreon to have a look at the color conversion charts there as well, all in the description below. So guys, thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.